Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ha, Rocha, Chodash, Ma'amah. Double honors to the elder apostles of GMS and their elders. Double honors to my elder apostle, Aharawan Ban Yasharala of the Lion Camp, here in Florida. Shalom to the sincere Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity around the four corners of this earth. I'm Nakar Kharab Ban Yasharala, coming out of the Lions Den Camp of Yasharala here in Florida. And today I'll be coming out a lesson. And it is on this article right here that I seen pop up as a notification. And it says here, it says Russia's issues fatal mistake warning to Trump. And that's just what's been going on this whole time. We are literally at the brink of the third war, you know, at the brink of an all-out war, for lack of a better term, or the third war. You know, we're right there, and it's gonna happen according to Yahweh Shemel Shai. You know, the Lord is going. That's why the Lord is real quick. The Lord is gathering these nations, and not only is He's gathering these nations, He's also strengthening these nations as well. And this is an impromptu, by the way. So Salakia, I ain't really got nothing planned, but let's keep it moving though. Here we go. What this is? I'll say Joel. Yeah. This is Joel chapter 3. Wait a minute, let me see. As I was saying, I'll go Joel chapter 3, verse 1. It says, "For behold, in those days, and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem." This is talking about when the Lord getting ready to turn back our captivity. Free us from Babylon. Free us from big Satan. This is during this time, you know what I'm saying? But this basically is talking about the judgments against the Lord's enemies. But let's continue. It says, "I will also gather all nations, Salakia, and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat," the Euphrates over there in that area, "and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land." So the Lord is getting ready to do this. The Lord is gathering these other nations. That's why He's powering them up. That's why you see Venezuela getting more armament, and now they're starting to move into the nuclear armament power structure, as well as these other nations. Look at China. China has developed about 4 or 5 brand new, we'll say ICBMs, whether they're either long range or short range. But it has been happening, and that's why because the Lord is gathering these nations over there in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, over there in the east, you know, and He's going to plead with them, and He's going to judge these other nations as well. That's why we see kingdoms rising up against kingdoms. That's why we see these things happening, because the Lord is getting ready to judge these other nations for our sake, for His people. We are His people, because they have scattered us around the four corners of the earth. But it was all through the will and power of Yahweh Shem Shai. But these nations, they kind of overstepped their bounds a little bit. So it's a judgment for that. And there is one among these other nations, Adawam, that just went completely too far, and plans to go even further. That's why the Lord is going to help this particular nation finish what all they live in. But let's just jump down. Verse 9 of Joel chapter 3. It says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong." And this is what the Lord is doing. Proclaim this is something that needs to be proclaimed among the Gentiles. They're preparing for war. Wake up the mighty men, their generals, their sergeants, their admirals, their soldiers and all that stuff. Wake them up, get them ready, get them prepared for war. Let all the men of war draw near, let them come up, meaning get ready to fight. It says, "Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, and let the weak say, I am strong." So basically, these other nations are preparing for war. So they're becoming stronger. They're putting money in other complexes of their country, such as the military complex, such as armaments and or weaponry, getting stronger, beating their what? Their plowshares into swords and their pruning hooks into spears. These once weak nations are now becoming strong. So it is what it is. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna jump down to verse 12. Well, I'm at 5 minutes. So I'm gonna jump down to verse 12. You know what? No, verse 11. Assemble yourselves and come all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about thither. Cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord Yahweh. So assemble yourselves. The Lord is saying, these nations assemble. You know, assemble them. The Lord is telling these nations to assemble themselves together, and that's what's going on. Together round about thither, getting ready to fight. Verse 12, it says, let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there I will sit to judge all the heathen round about. So this is what the Lord is doing. He's gathering these other nations because he's going to judge these other nations. But right now, you know, and this goes in the second Esdras, 13 in particular. Because why they over there in the valley of Jehoshaphat, over there near the Euphrates, in that area, guess what? Yahweh Shai gonna show up. And we already know what Yahweh Shai gonna do. We're gonna use a video game terminology. Yahweh Shai gonna show up and one-shot him. And he ain't gonna lift a finger. That's what's gonna happen to these other nations. But let's continue. Let's get this article. It ain't that long. Then I'm gonna get a couple of more scriptures. But again, Russia issues a fatal mistake warning to Trump. It says Russia has issued a warning to the Trump administration as tensions continue to escalate between the United States and Venezuela, following new U.S. military and economic actions in the region. This is in a statement released through the state-run TASS news agency. Russia's foreign ministry has criticized Washington's recent moves, particularly actions affecting maritime traffic near Venezuela. It says, we note continuous and deliberate attempts to escalate tensions with our ally, Venezuela. Unilateral decisions creating a threat to international shipping and international shippings are particularly alarming, the ministry said. Since the statement, yeah, that's how this devil do, man. It is some complete BS. But let's continue. It says the statement also argued the White House to exercise restraint, warning of broader consequences if the situation worsens. Real quick, since I'm already here at Psalms, I know I brought it out. I'm gonna bring it out again. And I'm going to bring it out through the spirit of Yahweh Shai every time. This is Psalms 10 and 5. His ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. So this devil's ways are always grievous, hurtful, harmful, and dangerous. But when it comes down to the judgment, the righteousness of Yahweh Shai, see, that's far above out of this devil's sight. He can't see, we'll say, over the horizon. And what's coming over the horizon? His eventual correction and being put back in the lower state in which he belongs in. That goes into roughly paraphrasing. I've seen servants riding upon horses and princes upon the ground. Yeah, but Adawam Aisha as those servants upon horses, because they ain't fit to lead or rule or run nothing. But let's continue. And as for all his enemies, he puffeth at them, meaning he always What you gonna do? You ain't gonna do that. We gonna do this and do that and do that, and you ain't gonna respond. That's how this devil move. That's how this devil act. But let's continue. It says the statement also urged the White House to exercise restraint, warning of broader consequences if the situation worsens. Hopefully, the Trump administration, known for pursuing a rational and practical policy course, will stop short of making a fatal mistake and refrain from escalating things down a path that may cause, they say, unpredictable but very predictable consequences when it comes down to the truth for the entire Western Hemisphere, the statement continued. And this is the truth. You got the dumb-tardedness of President Babylon doing the dumb-tarded stuff that he does. But this is who people wanted in the power seat in Big Satan. Well, let's continue. It says the warning followed President Trump's announcement that the United States had imposed what he describes as a total and complete blockade on all sanctioned oil tankers entering or leaving Venezuela. Trump claimed the Venezuelan government had taken assets belonging to the United States, including oil and other property. Let me go there. Yeah. Salakia. Let's just go back to it. What this is. This is Psalms 52, verse 2. Thy tongue deviseth mischiefs like a sharp razor working deceitfully. That's what this devil's tongue is doing. That's him devising what? Wicked, sinful, deceitful, destructive words. Character assassinating, all that. Character deformation, and all that. That's what he does. This devil devises mischief with his tongue, like a sharp razor, working deceitfully. So this here, what was said right here in this article, Trump claimed that's lies. Venezuela ain't doing nothing like that. But let's continue. This is Russia, a longtime ally of Venezuela, alongside Iran, has supported the Maduro government as the U.S. increases pressure on Caracas. Venezuela holds the world's largest proven oil reserves, raising concerns that the blockade and military activity could have global economic repercussions. Real quick, let's get another scripture. Let's go here. There we go. This is Micah, chapter 2, verse 2. This is, and they covet fields, and they take them by violence, and houses, and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even the man and his heritage. So this devil covets things. And of course, you know why Big Satan is over there in the Caribbean and the waters causing problems, because Big Satan covets that oil that Venezuela has. So this devil, he covets things that he can't have. He takes them by violence. What's going on right now? Violence. He take away houses. He even oppress a man in his own house, and even a man in his heritage. He even take away a man's heritage. That's how messed up this devil is. But let's go back. Let's go back where I was at. I got all the way up out of Psalms. Let's go back real quick. All right. Let's continue. This is Venezuela holds the world's largest proven oil reserves, raising concerns that the blockade and military activity could have global economic repercussions. Trump said that the U.S. military operations around Venezuela would continue to intensify until the country returns the oil and land and other assets that they previously stole from the U.S. Okay? Gotta say what in Spanish on that one. What? This sounds like some boo-ba-jooby. Let's keep going, though. Let's keep going, because, you know. So this is my first time reading it. I kind of skimmed over it, but I ain't reading detail. That line right there, Venezuela, like Trump, the military. Yeah, that's some bull crap right there. But yeah. Somebody gonna get some missiles thrown at them at some point, you know, and it's gonna be President Babylon for all that happened. But let's continue. It says, here, we in 2026 now. We finna see what's finna really go down. It says, Slovakia. It says, concerns have grown domestically and internationally that the United States could be moving closer to a direct military conflict with Venezuela, which will in turn involve Iran, involve Russia, involve China, and all the BRICS nations. Somebody is not thinking. Let's continue. It says U.S. forces have recently carried out carried out targeted strikes on alleged drug smuggling vessels in both the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean. Yeah, that. Blowing up fishing boats and stuff. Well, let's continue. It says those operations culminated in the seizure of a Venezuelan oil tanker. Wow. No drugs was found though, right? But you got oil. It says the U.S. Southern Command recently reported another lethal strike in international waters in the eastern Pacific, resulting in the death of 4 alleged smugglers. Alleged. What's the flying flip phone is up with this alleged? They either were or they were not. Where's the proof? U.S. operations have reportedly killed around 100 people in totality. Defense Secretary, you see his name, Pete, has defended the strikes as lawful, describing them as lethal kinetic strikes targeting narco boats and narco terrorists. See, again, those freaking words, bro, those are trigger words. He has asserted that every individual killed was connected to how the flying flip phone does he know? Did they do any back? No, they ain't been doing sugar honey iced tea. It says that, yeah, this is start. I'm glad this was at the end because I'm kind of getting annoyed now with this. Speaking about the blockade, Trump cited loss of U.S. in investments in Venezuela and allegations of drug trafficking tied to President Maduro's government. Some sanctioned oil tankers have already been diverted away from, there you go, from Venezuelan points. Anyway, this is Psalm 73 and 18, because, I don't want to look at this motherfucker's face. 73 and 18. Surely thou didst set them, Salakia, in slippery places. Thou hast casted them down into destruction. So the Lord has put this devil in slippery places. This devil can't get his footing. That's why he's doing tomfoolery, trying to gain control of the narrative. But the narrative has gotten away from him. That's why they keep coming with the left field tomfoolery, and it's just not making any sense. It wouldn't make sense if it was change. But that's how this devil does. But the Lord has set this devil in a slippery place. Meaning, we are seeing the decline of Adawam's, Ishaw's power in the earth, and it's going to keep happening. And the Lord is, why? Because the Lord has casted this devil down into destruction and judgment. Let's continue. Let's go to Ezekiel. Where we at? Yep. Go back 10 chapters. 39. Here we go. Ezekiel. I'm probably might start at the top. Chapter 38. Let's go. Chapter 38. Verse 1. I'm going to just go from verse 1 to verse 12. It says, and the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Now, let's continue. Because even though, in this day and time, Russia represents Magog or Gog, not really Magog, because Magog means from Gog, but represents Gog, and and all the rest of the other nations that's conglomerate represents these nations. But back then, this was talking about this judgment at this time, but it's applicable to today's time as well. So let's continue. It says, and say thus, saith the Lord Yahweh power, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. So not only is the Lord using the bear to come against the whore that sits upon many waters, but the bear is also of Adawam. So the Lord is also against them as well. But he's going to use the bear to bear down on big Satan. Let's continue. Meaning making them enough, making them strong enough. Verse 4, it says, And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses, Salakia, and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. So the Lord is going to use Gog, aka the bear, BKA Russia, to come against big Satan, Chaldea, Idumea, Babylon. And they're going to have a host with them, an army that's going to also come against big Satan. And they all be what? Handling swords with all manner of bucklers and shields. So armed up, ready to go, prepared for war. Verse 5, it says, Persia and Ethiopia and Libya with them, all of them with helmet and shield. Persia and Ethiopia and Libya will join. These other nations will join unto the bear. And they will all have their weapons as well. Well, let's continue. It says, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer and all of his bands, the house of Togarmah, the north quarter, Salakia, and all his bands, and many people with thee. That's all these other nations. That intends to join BRICS. And if I'm not mistaken, Turkey has put in, we'll say, a word and on an application to be part of BRICS. They have left NATO. Turkey was one of the biggest armies that was part of the North American Treaty Organization. They like, nah, we finna slide over here. So it's like they kind of like doing business on both sides. But that's what it says. That you said Goldman and the House of Togarmah, that's Turkey and all them. In the North Quarters, all those nations that's conglomerate, all of them too. And many people with the bear that's going to come against Babylon. It says, Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou, Salakia, a guard unto them. That's talking about the bear and these other nations. And we know who the bear is. And these other nations. The bear is what is the bear a part of? What is the rest of the BRICS? All of them together. And they are a conglomerate of pretty strong nations, with China, Russia, and I forget the third one is like being very, 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 very strong. And they all have nuclear armaments. They've been developing like crazy. Let's continue. I'm going to jump down. I was going to read all the way through, but I'm going to jump. Let's see. I'm going to go right to verse 10. Wait. Yeah, I'm going to go to verse 10. No, verse 9. It says, Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land. Thou and all thy bands and many people with thee. So when these nations rise up, this is going to be like a cloud covering the skies. Like a darkness. Kind of make me start to think about Joel chapter 2 with those ICBMs. Those thousands, the vision that John saw. And the Lord showed him the destruction and the judgment of Babylon. That's what they make me think about. But let's continue. Verse 10. It says, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, it shall come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought." So it's going to come to some point, in a point. Back to the title, fatal mistake warning to President Babylon. It's going to come to some point to where the bear, Russia, is going to think an evil thought, and they're going to devise or move upon that evil thought. And what is that evil thought? Verse 11, "And thou shalt say, I will go to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates, to take a spoil and to take a prey, and to turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods, that dwell in the midst of the land." So it's going to get to a point where the bear, the leader of the bears, was like, you know what? I'm going to slide over that to them because they unprotected. They filled with unwalled villages. Lord, he said, I'm going to march against them. I'm gonna run up on them and destroy the land and the people. With these people who live in such confidence, who think that they good, who think that they dwell safely. Because you know Jake over here, he still think everything good because he was able to act the fool for New Year's and shoot off all kind of fireworks and drink and party. Everything will be good. No, it's finna get real. But this is what is gonna happen. And it's going to be the power and the spirit and the will of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahshai that's going to cause it to come forth. So, yeah, we see this fatal mistake. It's finna get real. Shalom.